Hello, I'm Alan with the Plant Farm here in the Spokane Valley. Today I want to show you a little bit about Wave Petunias. Wave Petunias are the absolute best choice for lots of color in your yard. And here in the inland northwest, our weather is ideally suited for these plants. So when people come in and ask me how they can make a big color display in their yard, I always point them toward Wave Petunias. Wave Petunias are a very aggressive growing plant, and they're very easy to grow, and they provide lots of color. So today we're actually going to go out in the yard on the other side of the plant farm. We're going to do some planting. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how to successfully plant without working hard all summer with weeds and things like that. Today we've chosen the purple wave. I think it's probably one of the best color selections in the wave series. There's a lot of different types of waves. You have a group of waves called tidal waves, which are very tall. You've got a group of waves that this is a part of that are very horizontal. They're just called wave. And then we've got a group called easy wave. They're a little more of a rounded mound. Lots of different color selections. And then there's a few that are a small bloom, but lots of them called shock wave. This particular one, as you can see, is a very low growing plant and very prolific in its bloom. You can literally plant this and expect to have an entire covered bed of purple with this particular plant. In order to successfully grow these, they're very heavy feeders. So I'm going to recommend that we always make sure that we put down a couple of things. This first thing here is going to be weed prevention, which we're going to use. And then the other thing is we're going to want to feed very heavily with some kind of a fertilizer. You can do that with your liquid feed, or if you're not faithful to do that, let's plan on using the Osmocote. It's a slow release fertilizer. You don't have to put it on quite so frequently. I think in terms of taking care of petunias, which are heavy feeders, will put Osmocote out at least twice during the summer. But we'll start by planting and then sprinkling our Osmocote and incorporate it into the soil. And then the final thing, what we'll do after we've planted our plant and placed it in the ground, after we've sprinkled our Osmocote all through the bed, the last thing we'll do is we'll take our weed preventer and we'll spread this all evenly through, following our application instructions. But in so doing, what we'll do is we'll prevent all of the little weed seeds that are going to be sprouting as the weather warms up. They'll just be completely blocked. And as a result, what we'll have is a plant that's able to grow, because it's not a germinating weed. Its roots will all be below this barrier. And this actually forms a little chemical barrier right at the level of the soil and prevents weeds from coming through. So let's go out into our garden area now, and we'll talk a little more about how to plant our Wave Petunias. Well, we're out here in the yard outside of the plant farm, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to plant Wave Petunias today. We're back to our purple wave. You notice one of the things that we have pink plastic on our wave. That's pretty much throughout the country a trademark color for Wave Petunias. So what we're going to do is demonstrate a little bit about how to plant. I've got Anna right here who's going to help me today as we plant this particular flower bed here. Real simple process. First thing we're going to want to do is make sure our soil is weed free. Our beds are all prepped. We've done that simply by taking the small cultivating the soil, and then raking it back smooth again. And now we're ready to begin to plant. Not very difficult. These are nice easy pots to plant. They're 4-inch. Just make a small hole, a shovel, set the pot in there, collect the dirt, get around it. Spacing wise, we only need to do this about every 18 to 24 inches. So I think we're ready for that one. And let's get one right here. We'll come off the curb just about 18 inches or so. And what I want to do, because these are a very vigorous growing plant, is I just want to stagger. I'm going to keep my rows, but I'm going to stagger any row. planting flower beds like this, I like to keep my walking to the minimum, but occasionally you're going to end up stepping in the area. Just set that in the center there. And then I want to look over here where we've already planted some and show you how to treat these from this point forward. One of the things you noticed as we were planting, a misconception people have is they pack their ground around their plant thinking that they've eliminated all the air pockets. The truth is these plants want to have as porous the soil as possible. This is a fairly high humus soil. It has peat moss in it. It's been amended. I've also got some perlite and some pumice in it. This is good growing soil. But I don't really want to pack it in any way, shape, or form, because what I want is I want this ground to be moist and I want there to be air in there. Because then my plant can send its little hair roots throughout the ground. And what we're going to do here is we're going to just sprinkle relatively liberally our osmocote. Now, this is a fairly large area. If you have a small bed, you're going to do things a little differently, but we're going to sprinkle our osmocote somewhat liberally over our plants. Cross over and take care of this section here. You can see I'm putting a fair amount down, probably more so than the plant needs right now. But I'm planning on its roots moving out and away, and I'm planning on this stuff dissolving. And then the nutrition will be there for the plant. So we've got our weed prevention from Miracle Grow. And this is going to be a pre-emergent. It's very important that we don't have any weeds, and all we have really is weed seed in our soil. And as we sprinkle this down and follow our instructions, what it'll do is it'll dissolve and it'll create a vapor barrier that prevents the weed from coming through it, literally killing the weed as it passes through. So we're gonna begin treating by liberally sprinkling the area that we're treating. This is one of those things that you don't want to be afraid to use too much of. It binds very high in the surface. We absolutely need to have good coverage in order to prevent weeds from coming up. We did a good job planting. We covered all of our root balls, so there will be no contact between the root ball and our weed prevention pre-emergent. Going to come back and do a very good job here. I've left a few footprints. I'm going to leave them alone. One thing you don't want to do is start tearing up your vapor barrier once you've applied it. And then the final thing we want to do is come back and thoroughly water. And as we thoroughly water, we're going to begin the process of dissolving our osmocote and releasing our initial fertility in the ground. We're going to begin the process of putting this vapor barrier to action. And finally, we'll water our plants in thoroughly so that there's a good connection between the soil and our plants so that we can have a good continuation of the water. The plant is able to move out into the soil around it and pick that up, and in the process grow outside of the root ball that's already there. I'm Alan at the Plant Farm. This is the easiest way that you can provide color. And a little bit later on we'll show you a part of the video where this is already grown and blooming. And you'll see that here in this area, in our inland northwest, Wave Petunias are the absolute easiest plant to use when you're trying to create loads of color in your yard.